Good afternoon, Charles Moscowitz here. President Trump, release the prisoners at once. This is the right thing to do, this is the moral thing to do, and it's also a good idea politically. And when I say prisoners, I am talking about over 100,000 people, by not predominantly black men, actually, who are being held in prison for minor drug crimes in this country. Now, that includes, as little as having a joint of marijuana or a small quantity of marijuana found on them. And they've been incarcerated and are incarcerated. It's not right. And it is a huge issue, particularly in the black community, but I think it's an issue in many communities. It's costing an enormous amount of money. It is creating hardened criminals who have to be incarcerated or who are incarcerated for these minor crimes and who are going to come out as harder, tougher criminals, as real criminals, possibly addicted to drugs. And it's a social problem. I'm studying sociology right now, and I view this as such. Let me just go over a couple of statistics here. This is from the Prison Policy Initiative, and it says here that 1 in 5 incarcerated people in the United States today are locked up for a drug offense. Now, out of that number, there certainly are a percentage that ought to be incarcerated. They are people who are involved in major drug dealing. Those people should, deserve and received a rightful sentence. But I'm talking about the percentage, and this is at least half, probably about 75% of people who are in there simply for minor drug offenses. Now, it says that in state prisons there's 198,000. Local jails, 118,000. Unconvicted. In other words, that's 118,000 people being held before their trial. Something wrong with that. 118,000 and 35,000 convicted. In federal prisons is 81,000 in the Bureau, according to the Bureau of Prisons, and 16,000 according to under U.S. Marshals. In juvenile prison it's 2,500. In the military it's 90, and that's less of a concern. But the point is that these are people who are being held who got caught up in the so-called war against drugs, which was launched in the first Bush administration in the late 1980s, and who were picked up for these minor offenses. There's a great deal of claim, and I think I understand it, and I'm not saying it absolutely is true, but it seems true to me that there's a racist component to this. Most of these people are black. Most of these people are men. Most of them are under the age of 30. And there is the cost of this socially, economically, spiritually is very high. Now, I don't know if a federal pardon legally could affect this. The Constitution gives an enormous amount of power to a president, to a chief executive, to issue pardons, and big pardons are called amnesties. Jimmy Carter did this for Vietnam War draft dodgers in the late 1970s. It's been done before. And I would suggest that President Trump, with a swipe of a pen, could issue a blanket pardon to any and all prisoners currently in the system who were convicted for minor drug offenses. And I think that that pardon could involve a period of maybe anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months, so that the states and the federal prison system and local jail system can process people properly and make sure that they meet certain standards to be released, which is that they have a good prison record and other factors. And possibly some halfway initiatives to help people get back out and make sure that they're in touch with people on the outside who can help them, family members, for example, and maybe some counseling and some other aspects to the release, the final release, but that the process should be swift and that in the end, all worthy prisoners should be released. I mean, again, we're talking here, I'm just adding up the numbers, it comes to about 200 to 250,000 people. Now, can you imagine what this could mean? Not only in terms of the obvious and important meaning, which is to give these young people a chance at life so that they can once again be free. They can have their records expunged because they've been pardoned. They can begin to get on with their lives. But the cost of it, I mean, it would save our system probably, I don't know, $500 million to $1 billion a year in terms of prison costs. It would be able to, the prisons in many cases are overcrowded. It would reduce and possibly even end that problem. It could really, it's just all around the right thing to do. And certainly from a political standpoint, President Trump could do something really dramatic socially here that could really transform his image and the image of the Republican Party in this re-election year in a positive way. I don't think anyone would disagree with this. I think those of us, and I include myself here, who are tough on crime, I don't disagree with this. I don't think most people would. These are not hardened criminals. These are people who got caught up in a system of overreach where a war on drugs didn't go after the real problem of drugs, which is the drug kingpins and people bringing drugs in across the border. That's the real problem. And targeting often minority neighborhoods and drug gangs and people who are, pushing the drugs. Those people deserve to be imprisoned. And if they're foreign, they should be deported. We're not talking about them. They should stay where they are. We should actually go after them. We're talking about possibly upwards, again, of 200,000 innocent people who simply either had an addiction and who got caught with a joint or a small quantity of drugs, or were just got caught up in that whole system. These are people who deserve a second chance. They should have the record expunged. They should be given counseling, as I said. If it costs something in the interim, fine. It's going to save a lot more money in the long run, not only in terms of actual prison reduction, but socially, in terms of helping people get back to freedom and get back to living their lives. And it would forever cement President Trump's legacy as a progressive, great president. And when I say progressive, I mean progressive in the real sense, actually doing positive things to enhance and further freedom for Americans. So, and obviously the prisoners would have to be American citizens, I would suggest, or at least legal citizens, legal residents. So that's my suggestion, President Trump. I don't know if it's possible, but I hope someone gets you this message. But I repeat and I reiterate, release the prisoners at once. Issue a blanket pardon, and you shall be on the right side of history. Thanks so much. Charles Moscowitz here. Have a great day.